but we are moving in, and believe it or not, we're talking about some great evergreens,
Right.
right? I mean, this
Yeah.
is a time when we want to start. Well, you're going to be talking about the evergreens that are, preparing them for the winter.
Yes.
We haven't had winter yet.
Not much. No. Right. We've been pretty lucky, and the evergreens, of course, have loved that. They've been getting a lot of moisture. We've had some nice rains, and
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you. Like, is that a good thing, or is that detrimental? The fact that we haven't had that colder weather, or I'm missing really the snow. So I always know that that's a great thing to be able to protect their roots.
Yeah. Well, it is. It is really good that they haven't been subjected to the torture that they can get.
I mean, I guess I'm glad I'm not outside.
I know. 24/7. Yeah.
Right. Good night.
So, but it's better if winter kind of comes more gradually. And what I'm afraid is going to happen this year is that we've had this real mild weather, and then all of a sudden it's going to drop like a bomb, and
right.
That can really hurt.
I know. I saw in the next 2 weeks it's supposed to get pretty cold.
Yes, right. Yeah.
So what can we do to maintain and keep your plants?
Yeah, it's a good thing there are a few things that I'm going to talk about today that you should probably do if you haven't done them already.
Okay.
To prepare your plants for the winter. So, because
it's coming.
It's going to be here. I mean, maybe it'll be April again.
Always that surprise snowstorm for the fashion show or something, right?
Oh no.
Yeah. No, but we
we don't want that.
No. I shouldn't have even said it.
Yeah, right.
All right, so we're diving in.
Yeah, right.
Gave me a little cheat sheet here. That's helpful.
Oh, sure. Yeah, right.
Making sure I stay on track because I tend to deviate, go down a rabbit hole, literally.
Yeah.
So when you talk about evergreens for people that are trying to, learn a little bit more, or maybe they're new to plant world,
right?
What classifies something as an evergreen?
Yeah, well, anything that keeps its needles or leaves too. A lot of people don't realize that there are some evergreens, like the azaleas and rhododendrons, boxwood, even some hollies that keep their leaves all winter. Those are considered evergreens. And those are susceptible to winter damage too if they're not prepared properly for the winter cold. So, but most evergreens don't lose their needles and their leaves in the winter. So that's.
So they're evergreen.
Yes.
Hopefully they're staying green, right?
Yeah.
Not like ever brown. I
know.
Evergreen.
That's what we're trying to prevent.
Right.
Ever brown.
Right. We want to stay green, guys. Get that green thumb.
Yeah. So. Of course, some evergreens don't have green leaves. We have some euonymus that have yellow leaves, yellow and green variegated. And so those you want to protect too. So, but they're going to be exposed to the winter damage if they're not prepared properly. So.
All right. So let's see. You talked about some examples of evergreens. That's your boxwood, azaleas.
Oh yeah, right.
Rhododendrons,
right. Yeah. Well, plus the junipers and the spruce and the pine.
Arborvitaes.
Right. Arborvitaes. So right. All those are evergreens. So.
Yeah.
And then some people have evergreens in containers. Those have to be treated especially a certain way too,
right.
So to protect those.
Well, I love, you know me, I love container gardening.
Yeah.
So, and I do have a lot of people that said, oh, I just want that classic look in the, front entrance where I've got, some spiral dwarf Alberta spruce or something like that. Is that something that you'd recommend being able to put in a container?
Yeah, well, the best thing to do when you're purchasing plants to put in a container, especially evergreens, you should make sure that they're a zone or two lower, right, than we are. We're zone 5, so you should make sure it's a zone.
Are we in a new zone? I just heard that we're in a new zone. Like there's a
a new zone? Really?
Well, like we were zone 5B here in Racine.
Yeah.
And now, did we pop up to a 6 or
well,
something?
I don't know, maybe
Rumor has it.
we could, so far.
I know. Yes.
But then we don't know what
winter worm up
the
here.
rest of the winter is going to bring.
Right. So we're like 5B. So if we ideally in a container, we want to look for something that's zone 3 or 4.
Right. Yeah. 3 would be, ideal. So that would do fine in that container. But they still need care in the winter. So they can't dry out completely. So you have to make sure that they get.
So do you still do watering and things like that? Because we have had some rain.
Right.
But sometimes, especially if it's on someone's front porch, they don't always get the rainfall that they think that they
and the
do.
other thing is that evergreens, they kind of shade ground underneath them. So
Oh, right.
sometimes it can rain on and the leaves, the needles get wet, but the ground doesn't get wet because it actually stops the water from getting to the ground level. So that's why you should, especially now yet you can still be watering them to
Okay.
make sure that once the ground freezes, you really should not water them anymore in the container because then it'll thaw the plant out, thaw the roots out again. And then
You got that freezing and thawing. going
yes,
on.
that's what does the most damage.
I
The
see.
freezing and thawing. You're right. So
Well, and then I see sometimes people have them wrapped in burlap and
yeah.
things like
Oh
that.
yeah.
Is
Right.
that
Yeah.
a
Right.
good
Yeah.
tip to do?
Well,
I mean, I don't want that at my front door.
no, I know. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I'm going to talk about that a little bit
Oh,
about
okay.
about protecting them. But yeah, I know that looks so awful, but
I know. I mean, I guess we'll find out if
Yeah.
that's a good thing you should be doing or not.
But I guess it looks better than a dead plant in the spring.
Right. Yes.
So,
And when you are planting, and I
Mhm.
mean, spring is right around the corner.
yeah. Oh, it is. I'll see if I can remember that.
If you don't know about spring being right around the corner, you've got to come to the farmer's market,
Yeah.
and my dad will have a little joke in his pocket. My dad likes jokes. And he'll have a little joke in his pocket pertaining to spring.
Yes.
So in case you'd like to know when it's coming.
Don't ruin it now.
I said I did. Did I? Okay.
please.
All right. Yeah. Shoot. I don't want to ruin the joke. But in any case, spring is coming, and when people are looking for, we're talking about evergreens specifically.
Right.
What is an ideal location?
Well, every all of them are different. Some can be in an real exposed area, but generally,
Exposed. We're talking about sun.
yeah, a lot of wind too.
Oh, wind.
Wind, yeah.
Oof.
The wind
Everyone I
is-
talk to says my yard is so windy.
I know everybody's.
I don't know
yard is-
what's happening.
Not today, but
Yeah, not today.
But-
Not in my backyard.
Yeah, no.
I'm in God's pocket, just so
Oh,
you know.
yeah,
I got
yeah, you're-
well, it just depends on how much
You're
protection
so
you
lucky you
have.
could grow anything, but a lot of evergreens, if they're in a real exposed area with a lot of wind, a lot of sun too, can be damaging in the winter.
Because it has that warm up and then cold again.
Yeah,
Is that
right.
right?
Yeah, right. So and the wind can dry the plant out too real easily. So I'm going to talk to you about some things that you can do to keep your plants from drying out. So one of the first things you can do is, of course, is to keep your plants watered thoroughly throughout the summer and the fall. Now I'm talking about watering in the summer being important because that's when plants start getting their root system established and for winter. So a plant that doesn't have a proper root system is going to have a tough time making it through the winter. So we want to make
So
sure.
how do you know who needs water? I mean, I know I'm an annual queen. Again, a plant lover, container lover.
Yeah.
So I'm watering those all the time. But
Yeah.
how do I know? I mean, I just thought once those evergreens were in place,
Uh-huh.
they're fine. Are we talking about just newly established ones?
Yeah. Well, newly established ones, and also we did have a drought period last summer. When we didn't get any rain for a few weeks. So, and that would have been a good time to be watering all your plants too around.
Okay.
Yeah, not just your evergreens, but all your plants. Make sure that they don't dry out during those drought periods. So most of the time they should be fine though once they're established. But it's just though during those times when we don't get any rain for maybe a month or something
Yeah.
like that. That can happen in the summer.
Right. And it just is so
periodically.
stressful on the plant.
Right.
And then just is a little bit of a setback then, of course, for winter. So.
Exactly. Yeah. So if they enter winter already stressed out, so.
And when you water, do you water?
No.
Do you use a spray gun?
Oh,
You
no.
see those people?
I
just
know.
like,
I see people doing that. I just want to pull over and say, "No, stop!"
Yes,
stop."
yes. A little lesson.
Yeah. No, water the roots.
Oh,
Water
okay.
the roots. The,
All right.
The needles don't need to be watered unless your plant got dirty or so dusty or
You
something.
want to just give them a good rinse off.
Yeah, rinse it
But
off.
roots is where they're going
The
to
roots.
soak up the water.
Yeah, that's right. Water the roots.
All right. And then you talk about mulching the root zone.
Well, mulching is really important in the fall. So if you haven't done that yet, you can still do it now. And I'm talking about mulching the roots. That's the drip line. Where the roots are, not the trunk. I hate it when I see those when people mulch and they make it like a volcano, they make like a.
Well, it's kind
A
of fun. You
mountain.
make that little mound, and it's amazing how it can almost like go right up the tree.
I know.
It's kind of a, you know.
It's bad for the trunk though.
Really?
Yeah, it can cause, they can get a lot of disease, and their trunk has to be able to breathe, so.
And have that exposure, yeah.
Yeah, so you don't want to put the mulch up around the trunk, you just want to make a circle, like a donut, you know, around the tree over the.
I like
root system.
donuts. I mean, we're right across from O&H Bakery.
Yes,
right
I
here.
know.
Just get a donut, and that will help you to remember
I'll have those chocolate covered ones.
when you're mulching, because you got your plant and your mulch at Milligers,
Yeah.
and then you drove past O&H
Yeah, there
Bakery,
you go.
and you got a donut.
Yeah, and that'll remind you.
Yes,
how
remind you
should-
how to do your mulch placement.
Yeah.
I love it. It's a
Or a
win-win.
kringle. Kringles are kind of rough.
Yeah, it's a kringle, just depending on the shape of your plant.
So, so
Or
yeah.
whatever you're hungry for.
Yeah, so make sure you protect the trunk from the root, from the mulch. You know.
Okay.
So, and also if your evergreen, a lot of evergreens don't have a trunk, they have green all the way to the bottom, you know, so you don't have to worry about that. But protect your trunk, the trunk of the tree too, from winter damage. A lot of times we get some sunny days where the sun can shine on the trunk, and the trunk, if it's a darker color, it'll get warmed up. And then when the sun goes down, it cools down real fast, and you can get cracking in the trunk if you have that situation happening with the sun going down and then
Yeah.
cooling off real quickly. So you can.
What can you do about that?
Well, the best thing to do is to wrap it with you can wrap it with a tree wrap. I like that the paper tree wrap.
Oh yeah,
you know,
that's
so-
easy to do.
Yeah, right.
I know
yeah.
Philip's
Mhm.
done that before.
But we have the plastic ones that just kind of clamp on too, so those are real easy to put on, and they'll also protect it from the which we're going to talk about in a little bit too, about rodent animal damage.
Animal damage.
Yeah.
I know. Sometimes they can be so cute, but
Yeah.
they can really cause some serious
I know,
damage
yeah,
to your
right.
plants.
Yeah, so you know, we're talking about deer and rabbits, voles, you know, so.
Deers and rabbits are cute. Voles, not so much.
No, right,
No,
no, yeah,
I don't
right.
need those.
But they can do a lot of damage because they actually tunnel under the snow. We haven't had any snow yet, but a lot of times people will see that in their lawn when the snow melts. All of a sudden, there are like little tracks all over their lawn. Well, that's voles that have been tunneling underneath the snow, and they are get near any of the trunk of the evergreens, they can chew the bark off. You know, so you want to protect them from that. That's why the tree wrap would actually help protect
Yeah.
them from that too. So that's a good idea to wrap the trunks. And
Or beavers. We were just on a canoe trip, and it was so, you know, we're just going down the Root River in our canoes.
sure.
And it was just crazy to see the beaver damage on, you know,
Yeah.
some of the trees. I mean, were just completely, I don't even know how they were standing. It was
Yeah.
just like this little tiny little point of, you know, that they had just, I mean, it's
Exactly.
going to fall down any minute. But
Yeah, oh yeah, right. Yeah, they can do a lot of damage too. So hopefully you don't.
hopefully there's no beavers in your backyard. But it was really amazing.
Well,
to see.
if you live near the river.
Yeah. You gotta, you know, be selective on which trees you can save there, but
Yeah. So most people don't complain too much about that. But so how do you protect your plants from these
Right.
critters, the deer and everything? So we have, of course, we have different repellents that you can use. One of them that I think people don't know about is milorganite. Milorganite can
Oh, I didn't know
actually
that.
yeah, because you could, if you put that on in the winter, you're actually into your fertilizing your plants a little bit too for spring, but they do not like the odor of the
I
milorganite.
don't either, do I?
Yeah, well, just use it outside.
Yes, don't bring it inside.
And then make sure you're wearing gloves. or a scoop or something like that. you know?
Something, face mask.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's a good point.
Yeah, and then of course we have like liquid fence and other products that liquid fence actually smells like rotten eggs. That's even worse yet.
That's worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not my. I like eggs, but I don't like them rotten.
No. But you can actually spray not just around the plant, but you can spray the foliage too, you know, because they can not just eat the trunk or the bark on the trunk, but they can chew on the foliage and stuff too. So.
And cause damage that way too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And some of these must be deer resistant. A lot of times we have
Well-
customers come in and say, you know, what do you have that's deer resistant?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. We actually have a list that we have prepared for customers.
Wow.
I had a lady one
That's
time.
quite an extensive list.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so this is all the evergreens on this part here. So the junipers, redwood, dawn redwood, which we're going to talk about, Norway spruce, white spruce, Colorado blue spruce, bugle pine, Austrian pine, bald cypress, and the giant arborvitae. So which is we call the green giant.
Right.
Yeah, that one is deer resistant too. So those are all good ones to use. And I had a lady that came in one time and she said, do you have any plants that are deer resistant? And I said, oh yeah, would you like our list? She said, oh, you have a list? And I said, yeah. And I said, oh, I wish I would have known that a couple years ago. I've been doing like trial and error. And
Oh.
she said I lost so many plants.
I'm sure.
Because she didn't have our list. Here's our piece of, we hand
This
these
is
out.
great.
We hand these out for free, and it's not nice.
Yeah.
So we actually have one for deer, for rabbits too. So if you're looking for something that.
Yeah, and I like that this is like all categorized. So you know, they're talking about you know, different, you know, for the location. So if you have a place that is moist with part shade, here are someone that, you know, that are rabbit resistant.
Right.
Or,
Yeah. It's
you
not
know,
just
the evergreen
not
trees.
just evergreens. Yeah.
Right.
Because they like to munch on all sorts of different things.
They sure do. Oh boy, look at the vegetable area.
Yeah. Right.
I know.
Deer resistant vegetables, and this is the Milorganite deterrent. They call it deer deterrent.
Well, I mean, nothing is foolproof, but at least
No,
it's actually
right,
going to,
yeah.
you know, deter
So,
them.
right.
You know, it's going to be helpful. And like you said, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck because you're also
Yes.
fertilizing your plant at the same
Right,
time too.
right.
Now, would
So-
this be a bad time to be fertilizing?
Well, now that the plants are dormant, you could do that, but don't do it late in the fall when they're still before they're dormant because you don't want to promote any new growth. you
Okay.
know. So,
So it's not going to have any impact right now, but it's going to just enrich the soil so that
yeah,
when they are, you know, when spring is emerging.
right. Just
then-
leave it on the surface. You know, don't work it into the ground like you
Okay.
usually do. You know, leave it on the surface so that you get a full
The
amount.
full aroma.
Yes.
Got it.
So.
Can do.
The other thing you can do is, you know, with the liquid fence, is you could actually, like, if you have some old socks or something like that that you're not wearing anymore, you could actually.
How about those socks that come out of the dryer that have no mate anymore?
Yeah.
They're just like little, you know,
Oh.
all alone, and they don't have a buddy anymore.
I've got a whole pile of those.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying I keep holding out and hoping like someone finds it underneath the dryer or
Yeah,
something.
right.
But those would be good options. For
Yeah,
us.
right. But you can spray those and just hang those around the evergreens too, you know, so.
That might be a new Christmas decoration idea.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Or spray your Christmas decorations.
Yes, just put those out there.
If you still have them up.
Right.
Hopefully you don't have those up anymore.
It's hard for me to let go.
I know. So we talked about the deer resistant evergreens, the repellents, and you can actually use to protect the trunk. You can use like chicken wire and something like that. Make put that around the trunk to protect it from the deer. They don't like to chew on chicken wire.
That doesn't sound too tasty for me either, so that would be a good deterrent for me.
Right. So, and then we haven't had much so far, but people are afraid of snow on their evergreens. But snow is actually good for your evergreens. It protects them. If it's on the soil, of course, it acts like an insulation. So it'll just like the mulch does, to keep their roots from freezing and thawing. It keeps them frozen. So once the ground freezes, you want to make sure it stays frozen. You don't want to make sure it's not freezing and thawing, because that's where you get a lot of the root damage on the evergreen. So the snow actually puts a nice blanket on there and protects
it from there.
Yeah, right.
I love snow, Dad. Where is it?
I know, yeah, but I don't know. I saw some snow yesterday.
Well, you were skiing, which is not fair because I was at work and I was very jealous. But that wasn't even real snow. So,
No.
Sorry to burst your bubble.
Yeah, so good. Maybe it's a good time of the year to defrost your refrigerator or your freezer.
Just scoop that out. And
Yeah, you
here
put
go.
that around your plants.
Something. Well, and that mulch will do a good job of that too.
The mulch, mulch is better because
if you don't have a snowmaker, you can at least get some mulch.
Or ice cube
That's
maker.
Yeah, something.
So snow is actually a good thing. The only thing that can happen if you get those real wet snows you know, when the snow starts to pull down the branches on the.
Oh, it's real
evergreens.
heavy?
Yeah, right, yeah, because that can do some damage. It actually can break
Right, I've
some
seen
of
that
the
done.
branches and stuff. And so sometimes people will go out and they'll, you know, take a broom and kind of just tap it so the snow falls off. But don't get too violent because you could do a lot more damage. Yeah, right, yeah, right. Just tap a little bit so some of the snow falls off, so or slides off. And so that it isn't all that heavy weight on the branches, you know, so, and that can happen with ice too, we get those ice storms.
Oh, yeah,
you
ice
know.
can definitely be
I mean,
dangerous.
last year, we actually had customers calling in the spring, they had the, ice just built up on one side of the tree, so the trees started to tip over,
yeah.
you know, so they were like, so we had to go back and stake them up for them, and, you know,
Yeah.
so, but we were able to save them. If you can do it early enough in the spring, you know, you can
Right.
save them, yeah, so, or tie the branches back up, especially on some of the arborvitaes, you could use, we have a special, tape that you can use, that is kind of stretchy, you know, so you can tie the branches up and so they, start to grow in the spring, you know, so,
Yeah.
keep them from breaking off.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, so the ice damage, and then of course there's winter burn, you know, winter burn is, right, you know, that's.
Is that what I feel on my face? Like when I am outside for
Could be,
too
yeah.
long and my
Yeah.
cheeks have like that windburn? Is
Yeah,
that the
right.
same thing?
Yeah, do you have anything from doTERRA that you could?
Right. Yes, I do.
I know, I would
Get
think
your
so.
frankincense rollerballs
Yeah.
and yarrow palm.
Yeah, I don't know if that works on your evergreens, but.
No, it's just for me.
Yeah, right. But we do sell antidesiccants, which a lot of people will put on their plants that are susceptible to the drying out in the winter. And antidesiccant is actually it's a real easy product to use. It's kind of an oily substance that you spray on and coats the needles so that they don't dry out. And a lot of people even use it on their fresh Christmas trees.
Right.
Right.
It keeps them. Then that keeps them green
Yeah.
for a long.
So when you bring it in the house, you know, it can dry out. It'll keeps it greener longer, you know. So, but antidesiccants are really good if you have your plant in a.
So what would be an example of a plant that you would want to do that for?
Well, some types of arborvitae you'll see ones that if you drive down the road in the spring, you'll see ones that had burned on one side. They're all brown.
Right.
On one
I
side.
see that and I feel awful.
Yeah, right, yeah. So oftentimes it's usually on the south side of the plant where it gets a lot more sun.
A little more intense
So
situation.
this
Right.
antidesiccant will help. Or it could be on the north side if it's getting a lot of wind, you know, that can be drying it out. So
Yeah.
it's best just to spray both sides of the plant, you know, so you're protected from the sun and from the wind. So, but that works really well. We use it for a lot of customers. We have a program where we can come and spray that on. But we can't do it anymore because our sprayers are all empty now and everything.
Yeah.
But we do that earlier in the year, but you can still do it yourself, you know. So if you wanted to spray it on some of your evergreens, we do have it here from. We sell a lot of it at Christmas time, actually, with
Right, with the Christmas trees and all
Yeah,
that.
right,
And
yeah.
a lot of times people will even spray their greens that they're buying.
Yeah, right.
To keep them green as
Yeah.
long as possible.
Right.
So.
So yeah, if you want you know, a lot of these greens that you put in your containers are not just for Christmas; they're for all winter. So
Right.
if you haven't done that yet, you can still do that too to protect them from drying out.
From drying out,
Yeah.
turning brown. Oh gosh, well, what about? I bet a lot of people have this issue: salt
I
damage.
know. Yeah. Right.
I mean, especially when they've got some evergreens planted along the driveway or sidewalk,
Yeah. Right.
because
Yeah.
that's where people are salting.
Salt can be very harmful to the roots, and even the spray. If you're on a busy road where they use a lot
Oh,
of
and
salt
they drive by and
on the corners or something like that.
Right.
Because when you drive by, the spray from the car driving by can spray over. It can spread over onto the evergreens, you know. So and that can burn the evergreens too. So that's another good reason to use the antidesiccant if you're in an area where you might get salt damage.
Because that'll protect it from that too.
Right. Well, protect the foliage. You know,
Right.
Yeah, but not the root system. No, the root system. I mean, it's best to not, you know, to not plant evergreens where you have a lot of salt, you know it's gonna be too much salt.
How about just a sign that says like slow, please?
Well, I
I
have
don't
seen
want
I have seen people that have used the burlap in that situation too. To put burlap along the plants, just make a fence of burlap, not wrap each plant, but just to make a fence, like 4 feet high or so.
I'm sure that's beautiful.
Well,
I mean, I guess you
like I
consider
said,
the,
yeah. Oh, burlap
the
is kind of natural looking.
alternative.
Yeah. Maybe
Right.
you can find some green burlap, not a brown
Right.
burlap. I don't know.
making your winter a little greener.
Or if you want to get real crazy, you could do all different colors.
Maybe there's something on Pinterest with some great
Yeah.
idea for
Right.
making it look kind of artsy
Yeah.
at the same time. But it is worth it, obviously, if you're
Yeah.
noticing that you're having that salt damage.
Mhm, right. Yeah. Just don't use like something like plastic. Especially black plastic, because black plastic can actually get really hot in the sun. So that could heat up the plants, like we were talking about before,
Right.
with heating up the plants, and then they cool off real quickly. And also, plastic doesn't breathe like the burlap would, so they can't get any air circulation. You don't want to smother the plant, you want
No,
to still be able to let the air circulate.
plants need to breathe.
Yeah, so no black plastic.
Got it. Can do.
Yeah, don't wrap your plant in
How about like weed barrier?
weed barrier? Well, that's black though too.
I know.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
I'm just for our
yeah. If you could find
listeners
some,
and viewers.
you could find some white weed barrier, that would work really.
I think just go burlap all the way.
Yeah.
mean, that
right.
sounds like
Something,
the best.
something that can breathe. So.
Yeah, for sure.
But,
And then now, what happens is we transition into spring, right?
Mhm.
I mean, are we? I mean, as it's coming, when is a good time to really be talking about spring care?
well, I don't know. Let's talk about it now. I mean, it'll be here soon. Don't you think so?
Right now.
Yeah. Well, in spring, as soon as the ground thaws out, sometimes we get a lot of spring rains, but if we don't have those, you should start watering your plants again. As soon as the ground thaws out, make sure that there's moisture there. When the plant is starting to get out of dormancy, that's when it really needs the moisture. So make sure you water your plants thoroughly in the spring when the frost is out of the ground. So a lot of springs we don't have to worry about that because we do have some real rainy springs, obviously. So,
We do.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, that helps the plants. Definitely.
I know, it does. It
Right.
does.
Yeah. So, and then the other thing that you can do in the spring is if there are some branches that are broken or have gotten burned or whatever, you should trim those off.
Just kind of tidy up a little bit.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, actually, they can if you have some dead branches on there or dead foliage, that can kind of prevent the new growth from coming out. So the sooner you can get that off, the sooner you'll start seeing new growth come back and to fill in maybe some of those bare areas. So I had an evergreen that I lost a kind of a fairly large section of it from the ice damage. So what I did is I actually took some of that tape I was telling you about,
Yeah.
and I cut out the dead branch because there was kind of a hole there, and I tied some of the other branches closer together to kind of cover it up, and then when they started growing, they filled in
that
it.
area.
Yeah, they filled it
Nice.
in real quickly. It was really
Yeah, that was smart.
it was exciting to see. So
Yeah.
so, and then when you are doing pruning, one thing I didn't mention before was on pruning evergreens, you should definitely not prune them in the fall.
Right, and that always gets tricky with people, I feel like in their mind, they're thinking fall cleanup
Yeah, well,
and wanting to do all the trimming and cutting back,
Right.
but they should really wait till
Yeah.
early spring
yeah. Well, what can happen
or late
is
spring.
if you have if you cut anytime you do pruning on a plant, it's going to promote new growth. So, and a lot of times if you prune too late in the year, this new growth is still real tender, hasn't really hardened off enough, and then you get the cold weather and it all turns brown. I've seen that happen a lot on boxwood. People trim their boxwood too late in the season, and all the new growth is real tender. It's beautiful,
Yes.
nice green color, and we get this cold weather, all of it turns brown. You know, you got
Right, because it's so tender. It's just young and.
not ready.
All right, so think about, you know, when you're doing that in your mind, always do that late spring, early summer.
Right.
And that's such a great time to be out there. It feels so fresh and you know, crisp and
right.
all that stuff.
Yeah. So, and if you prune your evergreens too early in the spring, then when they get their new growth, you have to prune them again. So you should wait until the new growth comes out and then
so you
prune
can
them.
see
And
what is.
that way you only have to prune them once.
Right.
You know. So.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Right. So.
Now, Dad, I will tell you that our listeners really enjoy to hear a little bit of history because you've been here for
60,
a few years?
75
years. I mean, you've been here for a couple years.
Yeah.
You do have some history here, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right.
And I thought, well, you know, maybe there's a memory that comes to mind. I mean, you know, something about either on the nursery lot or like, is there like one snowstorm here at Milligers that really stands out to you? Something where you're like, oh my gosh.
I remember the huge snowstorm we had. It was a few years ago, and it was on Groundhog's Day. Do you remember that one? The schools were closed. We got like 6 feet of snow or something. It seemed like it was just all drifting and everything. It was. You know, the store had to close and everything. Nobody could come to work, and you know, so. Yeah, we have those big storms every once in a while. Every few years we have one of those huge dumps.
I know, and you just never know. I mean, it seems like February is a big time.
Right. Yeah. Well, you know, the lake, for instance, protects us. You know, in the winter, pretty much. You know, but sometimes we have those lake effect snows, which you know. I mean, nobody else is getting snow, but the lake is.
We're getting snow. Or the opposite. I've had it where, like, you know, school's been canceled.
Yeah.
And they have a ton of snow, and we have nothing, you know, over by the lake. So
yeah. Oh, I know.
Either way.
Right. It can vary so much, you know. So, but that's why you should always make sure your plants are prepared for anything, because you never know what's going to happen.
You never know. But was there one time here where you're just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, like, either what the snow damage did or the cold at Milligers or something like that?
Well, I remember one.
I know I'm putting you on the spot here. We can talk about this.
This was kind of a funny. This was more of an ice storm we had, you know, and some of the workers were coming to work early in the morning to do the salting and stuff, and the parking lot had not been salted yet. And we had an employee that came driving into the driveway. He was driving kind of fast, but he wanted to get to work so he could start doing the salt. And he couldn't stop, and he ran right into the store.
I'm here.
He slammed on the brakes.
Oh my God, we've had a few cars go through the store.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Do you want to tell about that time?
Oh, I don't know about that. That had nothing to do with the weather. That was.
What I did talk was going through the store.
Yeah. That was an older lady that.
This was back when. Were you and Mom married yet, or?
Yeah, we had just been married, so we were both working at the register, and a lady who had a big Cadillac Eldorado.
Bless her heart.
I could hear the sound of squealing tires. You know, what's going on? I looked out the window. She had front wheel drive. Her front tires were smoking. You know, I thought, what's going on? I thought, oh no, that car is gonna like smash. It just all went through my head. So she had obviously stepped on the gas instead of the brake. You know, and she was pushing as hard as she could.
Was this in the winter where it was
no,
like that, or was it just
no, it was in the summer. Yeah, right. And I grabbed Chris and I jumped up on the counter with her, and when the car flew into the store, it pushed us 20 feet. We were actually getting pushed into the store on top.
On the register?
Riding on the register counter.
Oh, unbelievable. If only we had cameras, you know, back then that could have captured that. I can't believe it.
I can still, it's like fresh in my mind though. I can still see that big car out there with the front tires smoking.
Yes, you have arrived.
Is this where the drive-up window is?
Right. I thought there was a drive-through. We don't have that yet. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
Oh.
unbelievable.
Uh-huh.
Well, I'm glad you're quick on your feet, literally.
Yeah, right.
When you have the ability to jump up on
I don't
the
know how I
counter.
did that. I grabbed Chris and I jumped up on the counter with both of us. I mean, it was like,
I think that's those amazing moments of adrenaline where you, like you said, you just knew in a split second what was going to happen or
Yeah.
what could have happened, and you just grabbed her and you know.
right. So,
That's
but
amazing.
I do have do we have a minute?
Yeah, we've got time. Sorry.
Oh. Well, I just wanted to show
told
you
to
a
digress.
couple of, these are some junipers that we're going to be carrying. Junipers are on the deer resistant, I picked some deer resistant ones. These are some new ones that we're going to be carrying next year. This is the Berkshire Special Sparkler. If you want to show them that one. That one's a really pretty one because in the winter it actually gets beautiful, kind of a purple foliage, you know, so it only gets about 2 feet tall and it can get like 6 feet wide, but you can control it with pruning too. So whenever they give the dimensions on these plants, it's if you don't do any pruning at all, if you just were not to do anything, but
Yeah.
so. But and then there's a silver mist one, which is another nice low growing one. Isn't that a beautiful color?
Yeah.
Look at the blue color underneath, and you know, isn't that gorgeous? And these are all deer resistant.
I love this one.
These are great for the winter too because they're not real tall, so that they stay nice and low, and they
Silver Mist Juniper. You definitely guys, you have to
yeah,
check that
right,
out.
yeah.
It's beautiful.
And then the spruce too are really deer resistant, you know, because they don't like the sharp needles on the spruce tree. But that one,
Wow.
isn't that beautiful? That's a weeping one. That's a weeping Norway spruce.
It's
so.
called Gold Drift Norway Spruce,
Yeah,
and
it's a
it's this
yellow one. Isn't that
beautiful lime
beautiful?
color. Yeah.
So in the winter, I love the yellow in the snow. I don't like yellow snow, but I like.
Yeah.
So.
We don't want the snow to be yellow.
Yeah, so it keeps its color all winter. That nice, beautiful yellow color.
That's very, very gorgeous.
And this is a ripple.
A nice
brook.
specimen.
This is another Norway spruce, which is a real low growing one. Isn't that pretty? So really nice texture. So another one is this
This
limey.
would be a nice specimen piece too. This is called
Yeah.
Ripplebrook is the name of it. And again, nice and low.
Right, yeah. And this is called limey. It's a Norway spruce but it only gets like 6 to 12 feet tall, something like that, you know, so.
The limey Norway spruce.
Yeah.
Definitely want to check that out.
And a lot of people, you know, they like the spruce, but a regular Norway spruce gets so big, you know, that unless you have a huge yard, you can't really use something like that. So we're gonna be carrying a lot of the spruce that stay more compact and are much easier to take care of. The other nice thing about a spruce too is they have a real strong branch system. So you don't have the damage in the winter with the snow damage and ice damage like you do sometimes on arborvitae, you know. And the Mugo pine is also another one that.
Oh yeah.
And this is a really cute one. It's real low.
Oh, it's called Pesto.
Yeah, right. Yeah, isn't that cute?
Yes. Well, it's just so. It's so tiny.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. It's perfect.
10 inches tall.
Yeah, and only 18 inches wide. This is like a perfect no maintenance plant. So isn't that gorgeous?
Yeah, I love it.
And some of the pines too are deer resistant. The yews sometimes we do have some different yews, but the yews can sometimes be kind of attracted to the deer, or the deer are attracted to them, you know. But and then we have hemlock too, which is a nice plant for the winter. So
This one's called Minikin Japanese hemlock.
yeah,
And
the
it's
regular
nice and-
native hemlock that we have around here, the Canadian hemlock, those can get like 60 feet tall, 40.
Yeah, here it
60
says
feet
a
tall.
garden, and this one's nice and slow growing, but it's
Yeah.
6 feet tall.
Right, yeah, isn't that nice? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, it's beautiful color.
And a lot of people don't know that you can grow redwood trees in Wisconsin. Did you know that?
Now I do.
Yeah. So we have the dawn redwood, which is really.
Oh,
one
I
of my-
love that.
I know, one of my
That's
favorites.
one of my favorites.
It has the yellow foliage, you know,
Yes.
and even that can get quite tall. So, but this is it's called Miss Grace. It's a dawn redwood that stays smaller.
I just love the foliage.
Yeah,
I
isn't
just
it-
think it's just so.
Right. Mm-hmm. Now,
Miss Grace.
redwoods are kind of they are an evergreen, but they're a deciduous evergreen. So you don't have to worry about protecting the needles in the winter because they lose their needles, all their needles, and they get all new needles in the spring. So that's kind of nice.
Yes, nice fresh start.
Put your words behind your
Right.
So, and then this one's called Hamlet's Broom. It's another
Another dawn redwood.
dwarf dawn redwood. It only gets 8 feet tall. Isn't that cute?
Yeah, it is nice to have something that isn't, so overbearing.
Yeah, right. Isn't that pretty? So, but because people really love the foliage of them, but they don't really like the, the ones that get huge.
The
You just don't
size,
have
right? And this
room
is
for them in your
beautiful.
yard, so.
Golden yellow in the fall. It's just
And
really
we'll have many more too. We'll probably have another podcast soon with talking
Yeah,
about all
I
the,
know you always have a lot to
all the new
say.
plants. I love that.
That is exciting.
Love that time. Yeah, right. So-
Spring's just around the corner.
Yeah, right.
Well, thanks for all your education and your
Yeah.
inspiration today.
Uh-huh.
I think, it's just helping to set our gardening friends up for success.
Right.
And, looking forward to 2024.
Right, exactly. So get out there and take care of those evergreens.
All right. Get your mulch, get your Milorganite.
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
All right. We'll see you soon.
Bye. Happy New Year.